season 2 of Daniel's Desk. Super excited today to welcome my friend, as you've seen, Nate Warden, who's going to talk a little bit about his company that he started called Coming Out. So hello, Nate, welcome to the show.
Hey girl.
So I first want to talk about what was your thought process behind creating this organization?
Yeah, so Coming Out is a nonprofit organization that I've been working on for a couple of years. It originally started as just an idea that there should be a website that serves as an online library or platform for sharing coming out stories.
Okay.
And so when I was living in Toronto, a few friends got together with me and we created the platform. Thanks to Jess and John for helping me do that. And it started out just as a small collection of stories. When I moved to New York not long after, I wanted to get more serious and make it a proper nonprofit with a board of directors, 501c3 designation, and so got to work on that. Fast forward to where we are today, and we've relaunched the website. It supports multimedia. It's a lot more robust in the way that you can filter through different types of stories. For example, where are you from? Virginia. So you can look for stories from Virginia for people who identify with the same gender demographics and queer identities as you.
So it's a multiple coming out process. It's not just gay men or lesbians. It's a LGBTQ spectrum.
Yeah, exactly. So there are probably about 200 stories on the site today, and they're definitely extremely diverse, not only across race and age and queer identities, but also geographically. They come from all over the world.
Nice, that's awesome. How do you get people from all over the world?
Well, because the site is open source, anyone could submit. So we get a lot of videos and written stories that come in from all over the US, Canada, actually the whole world. But yeah, anyone can go online and submit.
And then do you and your team just vet them to make sure that it's serious, all that fun stuff?
Exactly. There is a review process. We tend to be pretty hands-off. We leave it off. We allow people to submit stories however they want stylistically, but we do screen for things like hate speech and inappropriate language, and also people who seem to be maybe not telling the truth.
Yeah. So what's the purpose behind your organization?
It's a good question. The purpose behind Coming Out as an organization for me is to create this platform that people can not only share their stories, but the reverse is that someone who needs advice can find it and learn from it. So I always think of it like when I was 16, growing up in a small town in Ohio, if I had had a resource like this, I would have felt like I was less alone. I didn't have anyone to talk to. I didn't feel comfortable talking to my friends or family at that time. And I went to the internet to learn from other people's experiences, but there wasn't a lot of good...
what does one type in? Just
I know, exactly.
Coming out.
Well,
God only knows what you're going to get if you...
I know, and also, I'm 27, so the internet was a different place when I was 16. You find a lot of great stuff on Instagram and YouTube these days, but it's still not consolidated. It's not very easy to search through, and it maybe isn't also representative of a diverse community.
So can you tell me about the importance of coming out? Do you think it's actually... Why is it so important?
Yeah, so not the organization, but the process of coming out is really tricky. It's not one size fits all. So I'm really glad that we have conversations in mainstream media about It Gets Better and other organizations that talk about being out and open and living your best life, living your true self. But it's not one size fits all, again. So because you and I might have had similar coming out experiences, but if you're a person of color and you're trans and you're from a poor income family, that is a very different experience, right? And so each of us needs to be able to learn from people who have been in similar shoes. So the importance of coming out itself, for me, it was fundamental into becoming who I am today, learning to love myself, and I think honestly the relationships in my life got better when I came out because I became a better version of myself. That said, I waited. I waited till I had gone to college. I was fairly independent. I wasn't financially constrained by living with my family. So that was a safe way for me to do it. That varies for everyone.
I remember 12-year-old Daniel and watching Dr. Sue Johansson. Do you remember Dr. Sue? I know some of you young folk might not, but basically she was a sex doctor and she talked about...
I think she's still around.
Is she still alive?
I don't know.
I'm going to Google that. But so she had this one episode where she said, the purpose of coming out is to draw closer to whoever you are coming out to because you're sharing an aspect of yourself.
Yeah.
Right? And if it's not going to serve that purpose, there's no point to do it. Sure. Would you agree with her words? Would you disagree? Would you say, come out? because it's, some people say coming out is a political stance and it's important and just, who cares what they think? Where do you fall on that?
I think it is good advice. I don't know that I agree with the idea that the purpose of coming out is to improve your relationships. I actually think it should be a pretty selfish act. It's to protect yourself and to learn more about yourself, and you have to do that. You have to love yourself and accept yourself for who you are in life to be successful, to achieve the things you really want. So for me, it is a selfish act, and no one should feel bad about that. However, there is the correlation of getting close with other people as you go through that process. And so, yeah, you may separate from some people. They might not be able to accept it.
Yeah.
For people who either accept it immediately or do over time, those relationships will become much stronger.
Do you think there's ever a reason not to?
Oh, certainly. I don't know if in the long term there's a reason not to, and I also think that coming out is something that varies by relationship. So you can be out to your best friend and live a very happy, truthful life in that relationship, while maybe it's not safe to come out to your parents because they support you financially and you could be homeless. Mm-hmm. That's a very real reality, especially in some parts of the country still, and other parts of the world for sure. So I think there are extremely valid reasons to not come out. I think it's unfortunate. I think everyone should be able to live as their truest self and explore all of those fantastic parts of their being, but you may have to wait.
So because I think it's important for everyone, young, old, to have someone that they can share their authentic self with. So if you're struggling with your sexual orientation, or you're struggling with something, you feel like you might be gay, it's important to open up to someone. But how do you know who to open up to?
Yeah, I think that's something that you have to know for yourself, but on a personal level, there are probably a few things to look for. You know your friends well. And so, for example, the very first person I came out to, I was kind of strategic about it. It was a girl named Erin that I was in school with. She was a very just like fun college girl. We were friends. We spent a lot of time together socially. She was just a blast to be around, and I knew she was an open-minded person, just by the way she behaved and the things she said. She wasn't my best friend. If I told her and it didn't go well, I wouldn't be destroyed over it. So I told her first, because it was like a baby step, and it went pretty well. And I felt sick the first time I said it.
Yeah. It's so scary.
Yeah, and because I had been fighting it for years. Just the very sort of common stance things that someone from like a Christian upbringing would go through, like trying to cure it or trying to pray the gay away. I went through that. I did all that. Didn't work.
Did you also feel, because this is what I felt, and this is why I came out day one of college. I felt like with the friends in high school that I didn't tell, I was lying to them. And so it wasn't so much the coming out, but it was they're going to brand me as a liar because I pretended to be something I wasn't before. So if I'm lying about that, what else am I lying about? That was my fear. Was that
no, it's a valid fear, and it's feedback that I have received some, but also heard other people receive. Is basically like, why didn't you tell me sooner? Like, why didn't you trust me? It is a valid criticism from the person you're coming out to because they will feel some sense of betrayal, but they'll get over it because they'll realize how hard it is for someone to come out. It's really tough, and so it's valid. You are hiding a part of yourself from someone else, but it's not because you don't trust that person. It's because you're just afraid. Yeah. So hopefully they can understand that in time.
Do you have any advice for the person who's might not be gay and someone is sharing for the first time? Like, what advice do you offer? Do you just give them a hug? Like, what do you do if someone's opening up for the first time?
Yeah, so if someone is coming out to you, we actually have a few of these stories on the website. Something I'd like to explore more and build out more content around, but we have a few stories on the website that are coming out stories told in reverse. So like an ally or a heterosexual person having a gay person come out to them, and then sort of their take on it.
Yeah.
So you can find some of those stories on the site. My advice for someone who is in that situation is just to listen. The person who is coming out to you has been holding this in for a really long time. Whether you're the 100th person that they've come out to or the first person, they just need to share their perspective with you. It is okay to ask questions. It is okay to not understand things, but you should be compassionate in the way that you approach trying to learn. And if you need time, if it doesn't sit well with you or it's just too surprising, obviously not an ideal reaction, but it's okay to be honest and say that as long as you do it in a fair and respectful way.
So what if you assume, say for example, you think your friend might be gay and you want to show like, oh, I'm open. Should you just say like, oh girl, saw RuPaul, like, love her. Like, how do you draw pins, right? What, is there a way that you can show like, oh, I'm down with it, like I'm comfortable enough for you to come to me?
I think that you could use cultural references.
Okay.
It could be hard though. Like if you're a straight person, you're supportive of queer culture, but you like don't know a lot about it. It can be hard to be supportive because like what do you say?
Don't be fake.
Yeah, like, exactly. Well, like what do you Google? Like stuff gay people.
Bravo, RuPaul. Yeah, no, we give a contingent list.
Oh girl, did you see Real Housewives last night? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No. So there are probably some things you can do. You could reference queer culture. You could talk about a gay friend that you have, an imaginary one. If you if you're just suspicious, you could say, "Oh, my gay friend Joe," and then like that's a hint to the other person that you are aware of queer culture and that you're accepting of it. And
Isn't that a little offensive? Like someone says, "My black friend," I'm like, "What? Like,
I mean, I think that's a little different.
Okay.
But maybe it's not. You can tell me. I just think that you want to show positive signs that you are open and accepting to queer people.
Yeah.
And you can choose to do that in whatever way. I also, a lot of people when they think they know that their friend's gay or their kid is gay, they'll just wait. You can just wait. They'll tell you eventually.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, can you share some final advice for that kid like yourself who's 14, might not be out yet, and who might be watching this?
Yeah, definitely. So if you are in the closet and you've been thinking about how do you identify, how do you want to live your life, how can you do that in the best way possible, there are resources for you. You can, if you want to, tell close friends or family. That's really scary. What I recommend you do is find things that are incremental steps. So go online, you can find things at comingout.space. That's our website if you want to read stories written or told by other people. You can go to YouTube, you can go to Instagram, reach out to some of your favorite influencers. A lot of them are very responsive. They might have advice for you. Finally, if you need more things, you can go online. There are resources in most major cities. Things like the Gay Center here in New York, they have a similar center in every other major city. There are nonprofits like the Trevor Project, It Gets Better. There are tons of resources. In fact, on our website, we have a whole section of other resources that you can find if you want to read more.
And that's coming out.
It's comingout.space.
.space. Okay.
Yeah. And so if you need resources, start there. Start to think about what you want to do and then go forward and take baby steps.
Well, I'll be sharing the website on my page as well, so definitely feel free to reach out to me. And Nate, thank you so much for coming on.
Oh, thank you.
Have you ever been denied entry to a bar by a bouncer for no reason at all? Have you ever been reprimanded by an usher, either at church or a Broadway show, for merely existing? Has a flight attendant ever tried to report you for using your own bottle of vodka on the plane? I mean, where else are you supposed to use it? It's called an airplane bottle for a reason. Anywho, these people suffer from what I like to call little job syndrome, or LJS for short. LJS refers to someone who's in a position of power and who uses that power frivolously. Now, sometimes people in positions of power have to make important decisions. Like whoever decided to take Miss Cleo off the air. Clearly she's a fraud, she didn't see it coming. But LJS is a whole other ballgame. Let me know your thoughts below. Make sure you tune in next week to Daniel's Death.